Hello everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to show you guys my Pearl von Nurnberg and its family. um, so this one in the front, I do believe it's Pearl von Nurnberg. I wasn't quite sure in the beginning, only because I had propagated them from some leaves that my sister-in-law had given me. So I um, grew them out, not knowing what they were. And when they were little tiny babies, I will insert some pictures. I couldn't tell exactly. I had my guess, but at the time I didn't have any other Pearl von Nurnbergs, so I wasn't quite sure. But now that it's grown, I feel like I can fairly confidently say that it is the same. I will do a little close up and see if you guys agree. So this first one, it's quite leggy only because, as I mentioned in many of my previous videos, I did grow these indoors in my office. So at that time, it did stretch. And since then, I've had a hard time sort of um, making it not stretch further. I actually don't think it's stretched further, except I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna have to look at my old pictures, but as far as I can tell, I feel like it is the same as this one in the back. This one I had purchased, I want to say not too long ago. I did repot this fairly quickly, um, only because it grew. So it was in a smaller pot, and I repotted into this. And since then, it's definitely, the rosettes have definitely opened up. So it's like flattened out, and it's looking more wide. It could be doing that because it's looking for sun. As I mentioned, in July, we had a lot of rain here in New York. So not quite sure, but it is doing well. It's definitely rooted um, into the pot, and it's doing well. And the one left to the left of it is actually called Echeveria Rainbow. As it turns out, they are the same, except that this, it is variegated. So when they are variegated, they get their own name. So today, my plan today is to repot this for several reasons. One being that it is in a plastic pot. I potted it into this one sort of as a test, and now it's grown more, and it's gotten leggier, and now and on top it's looking a little sad right now. I'm not quite sure, and I have a little, like a little metal cane in there that's supporting the head because it was kind of flopping in there. So I do think that I do need to repot. And when I repot, I want to move it to a clay pot and not a plastic pot. So I'm gonna do that today. Be right back. So I haven't done a lot of these repotting videos. We'll see how this works out. I am trying this angle for the first time. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this succulent. Um, so apparently they get as wide as 6 inches, as tall as 3 to 5 inches. I've actually looked around a little bit because I feel like I haven't seen a lot of these in clusters. Um, and as it turns out, I mean, I did see some of them, just not in any kind of huge clusters. They do stay in this like tight rosette. But I do think that they get somewhat leggy as they get older. So all the pictures of the clusters I've seen, they all had long stems. So, and these are pretty slow growing as well. Um, as I mentioned, I did propagate this one from a leaf, and that was back in, I want to say I probably started around November or December, and right now is in August. So this is how much it grew from um, from the propagation. Now, I will insert some pictures so you can see. So that took quite a long time, and this is, it's not that big right now. I think this rosette is. I'm gonna try to measure. From end to end, it's about 2 inches. But just from looking at it, I feel like it's about an inch. I don't know if you guys can see, but yeah. So it's pretty slow growing. This other one that I purchased recently, it did grow a little bit, but not all too much since I repotted into this one. It's mostly just kind of like opened up um, its face, not so much big. Like it hasn't really gotten bigger or taller. Um, Yeah, but it's looking good. It's looking healthy. The face looks good. Now, as far as this one goes, it's a little spotty right now. I do think, and it's a little wrinkly. I don't think it's because it needs water because I did water it recently, but we've been having like crazy like thunderstorm like last night. Well, it's really early in the morning. We have this.
So at this point, I realized my microphone ran out of batteries and I lost all audio. So I'm gonna try to do a voiceover. I've never done that before. Let's see how that works. So I'm trying to show you guys a closer view of the top of the succulent. There's dots on the succulent because I had sprayed it with an insecticide, which I do once a month in the summer, and it left its residue on the top of the succulents. This can be easily washed off in the fall when I start watering it with the hose. The reason why I'm trying to repot this particular succulent is because it hasn't been doing well. It's been looking very wrinkly and it hasn't really adjusted in the pot. I feel like it hasn't grown. I have been watering it and it hasn't really been responding to the water that I've been giving, so that's why I am repotting. And here I've pulled out the succulent, and I now realize, which I had totally forgotten that I had done this, but I now realize that I potted it in a regular potting mix. I think I might have added some additional perlite for drainage, but as you can see, it is not the normal sort of succulent soil mix that I had made. It is just perlite and potting soil. So I'm showing you guys a closer view of what the leaves look like. As I mentioned, it's not doing well and it's all dried and crusty looking on the bottom, so I decided to just take off the leaves. And when you take leaves off the stem, you do really have to be careful not to scar the stem. It is, as you can see, the leaves are wrinkly, but it's not completely dry. So when you take them off at that point, you are, you are going to leave scars on the stem. It's best for you to just dry the stem before you pot it back into the pot. But in this case, I'm just gonna go ahead and pot it. And as you can see, I am cleaning off the roots. I'm trying to be very careful because as you can see, there are new roots coming out. So it definitely tried to settle into the pot. I'm not quite sure why it didn't grow more roots. Clearly, when I gave it water, it just didn't respond. And as you can see, the roots are very tiny and there's not that many. It's still a baby plant, so hopefully, when I repot, um, it will grow more roots and settle into the pot better than the previous pot. Here I'm showing you the new pot that I'm going to use to plant the succulent. It is a great clay pot, I believe, 3 inches in diameter and 3.5 inches tall. So it's slightly bigger than the previous pot. And as I said earlier, I do want to transfer all my succulents that are currently in a non-clay pot into a clay pot, because I do feel like the clay pots, um, they dry out more quickly than plastic or porcelain pots. So I'm just trying to gauge if this succulent will fit nicely into the pot. So I just laid down a mesh pad for the flower pot. It helps to prevent soil from washing out of the pot when you water um, the pot, and lava rocks for drainage on the bottom of the pot. And I've used all sorts of kinds, whatever is available at the time. This time around, I purchased lava rocks just to see how that works, and I actually do like them. And now I'm showing you my succulent soil mix that I had made. This one is a little bit different from my previous batches that I made, and I make them little, sort of, I don't know, 2-3 pounds at a time, however much I can manage to um, store in the container. Um, I do try to buy the rocks or whatever rock that seems to be handy, and I have been trying different ones. I do, and I have used many different kinds. And this is some sort of pebbles, I think, uh, that I use. I don't think what the rock actually makes a big difference. It is the ratio of the soil to the rock that makes the bigger difference. Um, from all the research I have done, for the most part, it looks like the ratio is 7 to 3. 7 being the pebbles or the rocks, 3 being the soil. And depending on who makes who you are following and who you are, finding this information from. I do feel like everybody has sort of their own mix, but the 7 to 3 seems to work um, well for me. And in this particular mix, I did put in some additional stuff. I do believe I mixed in some calcium powder for it's supposed to help roots grow faster, or it's supposed to help them root better or more quickly in the pot. So I did mix some of that in, and I also mixed in a little bit of cinnamon powder because I heard that that's a natural way to repel pests. So a lot of pests and bugs don't like the smell of cinnamon. So I've mixed some of that into, and that's about it. I didn't put any additional perlite in there because personally perlite just really annoys me, and because they're very, I mean, it's good that it's light, but once again my pots are so small. Um, weight is not really a big issue for me. So the perlite, they just kind of, because it's so light in weight, when you water, the perlite just floats and spills out and gets everywhere. Even though I do put top dressing after I pot the plant, it still somehow gets to the surface and it starts just getting everywhere. So if you look at my backyard on my pavers, I have so many little tiny pebbles and stones stuck in between my pavers. So the perlite drives me crazy. So initially I did use a lot of perlite, but at least 1 part perlite out of the 10 parts when I mix the soil. But I took that out
this particular batch, and the perlite you see is just really from what was already in the potting mix. Now that I'm re-watching this video and doing a voiceover, I realized that this angle for potting plants is not the best angle. All you can see is really my hands. And this was a day after a big rainstorm, so it was super humid, and I can see like my hands are like getting really wet inside the vinyl gloves, and it's not the kind of look, or it's not something that I want to be staring at for more than 10 minutes. But here I am tapping to and when you tap the pot, you have to make sure you kind of like put some force on the top of the succulent so that it doesn't pop back up. A lot of times what happens, and I've done this, made this mistake previously too, and I didn't really know, or didn't really know enough to pot plants well. So if I don't, you know, pot them well into the pot as the roots grow out, they just kind of like push its way back up the pot. So it doesn't really like settle into the pot as the roots grow out, and the face of the succulent um, gets almost pushed out, and the roots start like making its way to the surface. So that's really and then they start wiggling around in the pot. So that's never a good sign. So what I'm trying to do is really get them to like establish well into the pots. So when you pour the soil in and you sort of like tap tap tap, it helps the soil and the rocks to like really get compact into the pot. So that definitely helps them stay put. And as top dressing, I am using the lava rocks again. I've used multicolor lava rocks, but this time around I purchased gray lava rocks, and I do like the gray. I think it looks good with this particular plant, only because this has like a lilac purple color, and it may be too blendy with the pot, but that doesn't bother me. I do like the look of this, and generally I like just in general I feel like I like monochromatic look. That's just like my preference. So you'll see most of like I all my pots are the same. If I buy something, if I find something that I like, I definitely purchase multiple sets because I like to keep them all sort of matchy matchy. I don't know if that's the good way to put it. But here I am, I'm done. I'm showing you guys one last look of the plant. It's a little off-centered, and that seems to happen a lot when I pot. You try to center the plant, but that doesn't always work out the way you plan, and that's okay. I mean, these small pots, they will have to get repotted. It is recommended that they get repotted at least once a year, if not every 6 months to a year. So it will soon get repotted, so I'm not too finicky about that. If it, I have potted plants before where it annoys me, so I would pull it out and pot it again. But that's a lot of stress on the plant, so I try to avoid doing that. So here's one last look of the plant. It looks great. Love the color. I'm super excited. Hopefully it will adjust well in this pot. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye now.